Hey, folks, this is Lonzo, the editor of the Hub City Ledger newspaper and the president of the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce. Sometimes in my travels, I run across some very, very interesting people. And this lady is one of those people. She was referred to me by a friend of mine from Texas, a good preacher buddy of mine, Steve Miller. What's up, Steve? Um, and when I talked to her about her business, I was blown away at her commitment and what she does for people in times of need. I want y'all to meet Miss Tara Towns. Tara Towns has I was introduced as an anti-bullying program, but it's much deeper than that, folks. Tara, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Alonzo?
I'm doing fantastic. Tara, tell them about your business. For some reason, I got a little echo in the background. Hopefully, it's not being recorded. But tell them what you do and about your business and why you on this show today.
Okay. So I am on a quest to eradicate bullying, to save children, youth, and also to educate. So a little bit of a backdrop of how I got into this mission is my son. He was born with dwarfism and he was bullied tremendously. And as a result, he became very, very depressed and had, thoughts of not wanting to be here anymore as a result of being bullied. So along the way, I started a nonprofit 501c3 called Tiny Be Mighty. And this is dedicated to him and any other human being on the planet that is bullied or violated by people. During this quest, I even shifted my studies into being going to be a doctor, and I switched it to being a clinical therapist, so that I can help the youth that are coming in that are very, very depressed about being bullied. And then along the way, I met other mothers nationwide, but they have lost their kids due to bullying by way of suicide. And then I began studies, and I'm an author of 2 books just to educate and empower people about this because it needs to be known and it needs to be fixed. So I'm on this big quest to crush bullying and to eradicate it in any way possible and to educate once again.
Now, in your quest to eradicate bullying, you run across some very serious situations where bullying had not been eradicated in children in their lives. Tell us about that part of your operation.
Yes, I mean even now. So before the pandemic, children ages 7 to 17 are taking their lives in this nation. And it's sporadic in different states. So it's really hard unless you're really studying it and, tracking it. You really don't know how many. There's so many, I'm sad to say. But anyway, going into the schools, visiting the parents, and just being contacted. I'm known as like the bullying lady online. So I get all of the stories sent to me. They're in and out of the news very quickly. Thus, people in society really don't know what's going on into the magnitude, but the parents do. So I've been into situations, Alonzo, where, the rules are not being implemented, where students have even taken their lives in the bathrooms, in the schools, and at home, 9, 10, 11, 7-year-olds. Unbelievable how the ages are even getting lower and lower as we speak. This is what the kids are telling us. They're showing us through their behavior that this is not okay. Someone needs to step in and do something. So those are some of the things that I've seen to where it's still not, the issue is not addressed.
Is anyone held responsible when this bullying thing? Is that a school responsibility, parental responsibility, or what? I don't
I know.
understand why nobody would intervene.
Right. So we're all involved, right? The responsibility first and foremost is the school, because the school is governed by child safety laws, and
Yeah.
that's in every school through the United States. They have our children for 7 to 8 hours, and they are supposed to protect them and keep them safe. But what's happening is the schools, listen, there's so many cases, right? So if you have 3,000 kids and you have 500, reports of bullying, how do you? And I have a way, but how do you create the system that is effective, not just creating a system of gaining the reports? How are we sifting through them and addressing the reports? So anyway, the school is definitely responsible. The teachers are responsible. Admin, politicians, and policymakers, you're responsible. And parents, come on, you're raising the kids. You're raising the target, and you're raising the bully and the bystander and the watcher and the upstander. So it's a collective action that needs to take place.
Now, how do you know? Everybody knows that their child is being bullied. How do you know if you're raising a bully?
Ah, you do. You can if you're paying attention.
Okay.
So, there's this thing called sibling rivalry, right, in the clinical world. And there really is another thing called sibling bullying. And a lot of people really don't even know that, right? So they just think that their kids are kind of horsing around. They're, just being whatever they're being. Boys will be boys. I've heard it all. Girls will be caddying girls and fight. But you know what? In the pre-operational stage of development, which is 0 to about 7ish, this is where your child is beginning to bud into who they are and showing you their characteristics. So when you see your child, pulling the cat's ears, yeah, I mean, like discovery, okay. But if you're seeing them beat on them and hit them and, do certain things, right? You now are in another zone, and parents must pay attention to the aggressive behavior early on, because if they don't, they're going to miss it with its sibling rivalry. And then when the child steps into middle school after that pre-operational stage, they're now operating, right? So now they're in society showing up with what they were allowed to do in the home, which is the microsystem, and then they bring it to the school system. So now you have teachers saying, like, okay, I'm not responsible for this behavior because I have 30 other kids in the classroom, right? Which is true, but they can help. Child is now going into a new setting, and the behavior needs to be addressed and redirected. So these are some signs when you see your kids just really having extreme behaviors early on. You need to address that. Please don't close your eyes. Please don't say, oh, it's boys being boys. They're just fighting. No, it is healthy competition. That's healthy. That's okay. But, beating your sibling up, dragging them across the floor. These are just examples that I get from parents when they say, is this or is this, right? And I put it in my book, examples of what the difference between the two. A friendly banter, between siblings. Oh, you're silly. You're, the words that they use, stupid, big head, whatever. But when you're harming someone, that's the definition of bullying. It's intentionally harming someone. That's something else. So
I
you need
gotta
to
ask,
address that early.
with things being so sensitive these days, how simple things can be interpreted as being bullying or being, I feel some kind of way of what you're saying. Things that we got away with as kids nowadays to get you a case. I mean, it's ridiculous. And some of the things that I did as a young man, I was a notorious bra strap popper. Okay, that was my joke. Not as sexual assault. Okay, and my daughter, she is a behavioral specialist,
Mhm.
and she tells me we talk all the time. She says sometimes, Dad, I know, based on my upbringing, some of these problems these kids have can be handled with a little woodshed action back in the room. But these kids have never been spanked; they've never been disciplined in any way, and that stuff just festers. And as they get older and bigger, in some cases, they take over the house because mama may be a little 5 foot lady, a petite 5 foot lady, but son and grew up to be a big 6'2". Not gonna say a monster, but he can physically deal with her, and the mother has no control. But if she had implemented that control when he was younger, or that respect younger, maybe we could avoid that problem. Uh,
Absolutely.
how do you feel about putting hands on children?
No.
I gotta
I'm
ask.
against spanking, Alonzo.
Okay, hey, okay, that's your. Everybody got
I'm
their
not against
position.
discipline, though. I'm
Yes,
against
okay.
spanking,
All right.
right? Because we just have so many models in this world today, our leadership on the upper level, we have so many models of aggression. And then we're asking kids to have empathy for each other, support each other, be kind, be nice. Well,
What happened? Oh, for sure.
you had a call come in. What are they modeling, and who's responsible for the example? Right? We are. So the way that you are to your child at home is going to be the only resource that they have outside of the external environment, the only resource to go from. So if you're yelling instead of parenting, instead of talking, and then you get a notice from school, your kid keeps screaming at people, how are you surprised by that? I'm not judging, but
Okay.
how are you surprised by that? So the behavior that they're surrounded by, whether it be daycare, because it doesn't have to be the home, they're sent to aunts and uncles and daycares and cousins. So what type of environment are you putting your child in? Because that environment is giving them the go ahead, basically, to go do and be what you're going to be in society. This is what you're seeing at home. I mean, at home they model that, they're living in that, and that's their comfortability, that's their comfortable zone, right? Then they go into society and they're like, this is a little different here, but this is the only thing I really have to go on. What is your child listening to? What are they watching? What do you say to them? How do you describe things? And so on and so on. But spanking, it has its place. I do not judge people who spank their children if it's a true spanking. I mean, there's a difference between spanking and beating. There's a difference between a tap, right? There's a difference between a little tap, But then we're also fighting against Alonzo, social media. We're fighting against technology, raising our children, iPads and human touch is just being erased. Play doesn't exist anymore. Technically, play, it's like pull out your tablet because everyone's so busy. And I'm not judging once again, but it's really the truth. Let's go play in the dirt. Let's go build, a snowman. Let's do things like that, right? So then we're making a human connection. If there's not a human connection at home, and I really truly believe that spanking kind of pushes the kid away from you because they're fearful of you. You want them to respect you, not be afraid of you. There's a big difference between the two.
Okay. Now, another unfortunate component to your operation is you have to deal with parents who have lost their children.
Yes.
And we talked about this briefly in our first meeting. Some of the things that you have to deal with in regards to dealing with parents who've lost their children. Can you talk about that, please?
Yes. So part of what we do in our nonprofit, not the fun part, is help people with the burial expenses. And we help people relocate, because just imagine losing your child in your home and then you still have to live in it because you don't have the money to move to another home, or even just leaving your family home that your child grew up in. Very, very difficult. So I do deal with parents nationwide who have lost their children from ages 7 to 17. And a part of what I do, since I am a therapist, is that I give them counseling, right, just from my heart. So they have access to me when they have those rough periods, those rough times, those rough days. They literally can call me on my cell phone, and I will help them as best as I can. And then, like I said, we help financially. This is the part of the mission that everyone needs to know about, because this is where we are headed, right? Our children are leading in the nation. African American children who never committed suicide ever in history, very, very small amounts, now lead in this. This is alarming. And why? Right? That's the question. Why? Why are kids resorting to not wanting to be here? And the reason being is that they feel isolated in this. They feel that their leadership, their parents, admin, school, this is their voices, not me, right? Are just not supporting them in the way that they need to be supported. And they, quite frankly, don't know what to do. And they just want it to go away. So they feel, let me take myself away. They're not thinking about the aftermath or what precedes a child after committing suicide.
Have you ever? I know you're familiar with some of the drugs that kill children that give them thoughts of suicide. Have, has any of those situations ever been a factor, or that's just something they say as a CYA type situation in the advertising?
No, I believe a big part when we spoke about modeling, kids copy and they really don't know the depth of death because all they're thinking that in their moment of hysteria, in their moment of I need this to go away because it's happening every single day for a year. My head is going into a trash can, true story, every day. My pants are being pulled down. People are filming me while I use the restroom and they're letting everyone see. I mean, these are devastating things to kids as they're growing into who they are, right? So they're feeling alone in it. But yes, I am aware of certain videos. I'm aware of, because I counsel law firms on some of the cases, I've read diaries where the child is directly linked to like, hey, we would be better off if you just jump off a building or if you just kill yourself today. And unfortunately, a couple of them did listen to their aggressors.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, it's intense. It's intense.
Wow. I know my son at one time they tried to give him Ritalin. He wouldn't sit down. And he was about 8 or 9 years old.
Hmm.
He came in my room. I was half asleep. He says, Dad, I think I feel like killing myself. Probably one of the most tragic things I've ever heard come out of my son's mouth in his life. And
Right.
I immediately threw away all his drugs. Okay. I
Yes.
I told the teacher he can run on the classroom all day long, but he won't take this stuff right here. Can't do it. I won't give it to him. And he grew out of it eventually. But um, when I talk to people who are involved in psychotropic pharmaceuticals, a lot of
Yes.
those drugs have those side effects, and I'd hate to think that a healthy child has taken his or her life because of something they was taking to try and make them sit down or make them behave. I
Yeah.
just yeah, that's kind of devastating, very devastating, in fact. Um,
I agree.
where can they find you at, Tara? How can they support your project?
Okay, so we have two websites. One is the Bullying Buddy, like the word THE, Bullying Buddy. Com, and then the other is tinybemighty.org. That is the nonprofit organization. And I can be reached on there. I also consult schools. I do data analysis on their reports, on their HIB reports, their harassment and bullying reports. I do parent workshops. I have a bullying academy. It's called Bully Proof Academy. It will bully proof your child, the target, the upstander, the bystander. I call the watcher in my book. These are key components, Alonzo. We didn't get a chance to really talk about the
We,
characters, but
let's go
they're
ahead. We
they're
got
key.
time. Run.
they're key components. I discovered in my research, because I really researched this clinically, and it just behooves me some of the things that I am uncovered. We focus on the bully and the target. But
Okay.
there's other characters that I have uncovered in my book. There's the promoter, like meet us at the bathroom at 9 o'clock. And they say, Miss Tara, I wasn't a part of that. I said, yes, you were, because you let everybody know where it was going to happen. That's a
Mm,
promoter, right? The upstander, the person that just, oh, I'm going to help the bully. The person who watches, and I call them the watcher, they video this. And I found that those two people, the upstander and the watcher, I even said to children when I do the workshops, I say, do you notice that the bully does not bully you? And they say, yeah. And I'm saying, so what do you think that is? You radiate something that says, you better not come over here, right? I'm not taking it, I'm not having it. So if you two couple with the target who says, I am taking it. So we have a whole workshop for the targets to
okay.
build them up and let them know that they are giving off that energy. And you can flip that energy around and give it back to the bully without violence. You got to use your mind in this scenario to really win. The bully is an insecure person, not a powerful person. Powerless when there's numbers against him versus him creating the power struggle. See, so if the watcher, the upstander, and the target, and if it's more than one, if they just say, hey, stop it, and they redirect that stuff back onto the bully, they erase the bully because there is no target. Without a target, there is no bully, and his behavior cannot. So you'll begin to shrink what he does And then he'll learn that the power is not going to be gained by violation. So he would have to find another source of power. And that's where behavioral specialists, such as your daughter, clinicians, psychologists, school staff, this is where you get in there and you show him or her how to redirect those negative impulses into something positive. So that's what we also do.
Things sure have changed, folks. When I was bullied, all I had to do was well, you know what? It's the same thing, but it's only done from a physical standpoint. When I was bullied as a kid, I was taught stand up to the bully. And that means
Yes,
fight the bully. And back in them days, we didn't have nobody to give us any clinical explanations. You had to go fight the bully. And once I fought the bully, realized the bully couldn't hurt me, I wasn't bullying no more. So
absolutely.
same procedure, just a different method. Okay,
It
different
is.
time, just a different time.
It is a different time. And those bullies come back with guns. And my dad said he's 84, and he
Mhm.
said the same thing. He said, back in my day, you punch the bully in the nose around everyone. And
Yes,
it erases him in general. And that's how we used to operate. And I said, Dad, but the kids come back and do active shooting in the classroom or come back with weapons and guns. He said, no, we fought for real back in the day with fists. We boxed and we fought. So this is the difference, right? We have severe measures. Once the bully is addressed in an aggressive way, then he's going to up his aggression as well, right? He started the aggression.
right.
So he's going to up it. And then he'll come back with a vengeance. And this is what we have. We have the guns, we have the knives, anything that they can get their hands to prove that they are in power. We need to get to their minds, and we need to heal that bully, he or she, because they are a traumatized child or individual. And that's where we're going to see the social change and the behavioral shift that we need to see.
How do you deal with when parents support the bully? How do we deal with that? I've
When
actually,
you said they support the bully.
the parents are
Oh,
co-bullying.
okay.
I've seen this. The kid get into a situation, and instead of the parent disciplining the bully or trying to at least hear what's going on, the parent immediately supports the bully in their bullying effort to somebody else's child. I just experienced this personally with my daughter and my granddaughter.
Yes. And this is what I was talking about in the beginning about what we model. So parents need to be trained on the example that they are setting, right? You even have the parent of the bully who's like, I told him to hit her. I told him. Why? Because that's something that you are modeling at home in some way, shape, or form in front of your child or around your child. Listen, aggression is learned, hate is learned, misunderstanding is learned. They're just misinformed. And so I address them with you come join us at our parent powwow. That's how I address them. They need to know you're just feeding the fire. So why not put the fire out? You're the example, you're the adult, and you're feeding it. So you're only going to get more of it. And I do deal with that, Alonzo. And I also deal with parents in denial. Like, well, we have a 2-parent household and I don't know how I'm raising a bully. Okay, but you are, because you have those reports. So then I say, where do you take them? Where do they go to daycare? Who babysits them? And I go on and on until we find out, okay, they're not going anywhere. So then you're not being honest with yourself. I'm saying, even as a parent, I'm not perfect, right? My son, I do this, and my son was suicidal. Go figure that one out. But it made me dig a little deeper and do this, and now he's not. We have to come to ourselves as parents and know that not every parenting style is going to foster
Hmm.
something wonderful,
Okay.
right? Sometimes if you're a passive parent, what are you going to create? A target, because you're passive. You're showing your kid anything is acceptable. If you're aggressive, you're showing your kid aggression is the tool that gets you what you want, which is power in the bullying case, just attention and power. So even bystanders who do nothing, or excuse me, the watchers, right? Those are passive parents. You're teaching your kid, mind your business, don't say anything. Okay, but you know what? Someone is getting their head kicked in, and you can save their life. So there's certain parenting styles that I talk about in the book that invoke the behavior of the target, the bully, things like that.
And what's your book called?
It's called Are You Raising a Bully? I don't know if you can see it really
Got
well.
you. I can see it.
Okay. So this is seriously, this book is a guide. I didn't want to do a heartfelt like, oh, this is happening. I wanted to do like, hey, this is here. It's been here. How are we going to shift this? And how do we save lives? And how do we create a safe school climate? The whole guide on everything. It breaks down everything you need to know is in this book about bullying and some.
Okay. All right, folks. You just heard from Tara Towns. The mighty, tiny is mighty. The nonprofit is tiny is mighty, correct?
Tiny Be Mighty is the nonprofit.
My bad. Tiny be mighty. Tell them where to find you again, Tara.
TinyBeMighty.org is the nonprofit. TheBullyingBuddy.com, and that's where you'll find the app, because I did develop an app for children and adults. And excuse me, in Android and Apple, it's under maintenance. That's what they called it, under maintenance. So in about 3 to 4 weeks, it will be available for download. So we're excited. And that's where you can get that, and you can get tons of information from the bullyingbuddy.com. That's where all of the consulting stuff is, education, workshops, everything you need. I'll come to your school. I spent a week in New Jersey and exposed this to 10,000 students in 1 week. So we're here doing this for real in the trenches.
But you also are dealing with that situation I saw on the internet with the big kid slammed the little girl.
Yes. So yes, the young lady attends the church that I go to, and then there's another case, and it will be known right now legally. Nothing is being said about it, but yes, we definitely are here to help. Do anything we need to do to support those families.
All right. You heard it from her out of her mouth herself, Ms. Tara Town. Thank you, Tara, for your time.
Thank you, Lonzo.
Thank you for doing your work. God's gonna bless you.
Thank you.
God's gonna bless you for doing what you do, darling. In the meantime, this is Lonzo Williams, president of the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce and the editor of Hub City Legend newspaper, folks. I will see you when I see you. Peace.
Thank you, Alonzo.
Thank you, dear.